Welcome to the 157th episode of AI Podcast. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Have you ever just stopped to think about how fast AI is moving? It feels like, every single week there's something new, a breakthrough, a headline, and definitely a new twist in this whole global race for AI leadership. It's kind of intense. So today we're doing a deep dive into a really significant move, a major play by one of the absolute key players in that race. Our mission really is to unpack the United States' new strategy. It's pretty comprehensive, boldly titled Winning the AI Race, America's AI Action Plan. And this isn't just some high-level memo. No, it's a detailed 28-page blueprint announced just recently, July 23rd, 2025. It's designed pretty explicitly to solidify the U.S.'s position as the global leader in AI. But here's where it gets, really interesting for a lot of folks. Its impact goes way beyond the U.S., especially for a country like India, which is rapidly emerging as a serious AI power itself. We've gone through the U.S. AI Action Plan itself quite meticulously, and our insights today, they're heavily informed by this excellent article called The U.S. AI Action Plan and Its Impact on India's AI Ecosystem. So look, if you're interested in the future of tech or international relations, maybe economic development, or honestly, just understanding the big strategic shifts happening in AI, this deep dive is absolutely for you. So let's get into it. Right, so the stage for this plan was set at the Winning the AI Race Summit, and it sounds like this was quite the event. We're talking about a plan with over 90 separate initiatives, 90, and backed by some very high-profile names. You had President Donald Trump really throwing his weight behind it, plus tech leaders like NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, Palantir's CTO Shyam Sankar. So it's not just a government thing. There seems to be significant industry buy-in. It signals a powerful, unified push.
Yeah, it does. And what's fascinating, if you sort of boil it down, is that this whole plan really rests on three main pillars. Each one is designed not just to keep the U.S. ahead, but to aggressively accelerate its position in AI. It's a reassertion of this core belief that leading in tech, especially AI in the 21st century, well, that defines global power, the first pillar. It's all about accelerating innovation. The main idea here is to remove what the plan calls artificial bottlenecks. And what that means specifically is repealing or scaling back some Biden-era policies, things related to data licensing, IP usage, right? Policies that put stricter rules on using copyrighted stuff or personal data when you're training AI models. The new approach, it embraces industry-led standards, much less regulatory oversight. It encourages, light-touch frameworks, letting the private sector experiment more freely. The goal is crystal clear, faster development cycles. Speed is definitely the priority here.
Okay, so they're essentially saying, government, get out of the way, let industry run with it. That's a pretty significant shift, isn't it? Especially for something like AI.
It is, absolutely. And that flows right into the second pillar, which is focused really relentlessly on building infrastructure domestically. Because scaling these huge AI models and services takes immense power, right? Processing power, data storage.
Yeah, the compute requirements are massive.
Exactly. So the plan aggressively targets the hardware side and the energy to run it. This means fast-tracking permits for semiconductor fabs, chip factories, new data centers, and even specialized AI cloud zones. They're actually reducing environmental review requirements to speed up construction, and crucially, making sure there's energy access, including from fossil fuels, to power these incredibly compute-hungry operations. It really highlights the energy challenge of AI.
Wow. It sounds like they're building an AI superhighway and just clearing any potential roadblocks, even if it means revisiting some established rules. That's bold.
It is bold, and it really underscores the urgency they feel about this race. Then you have the third pillar, leading through AI diplomacy and security. This one looks outward, globally. It involves exporting full-stack AI capabilities. And by full stack, we mean everything hardware, software, pre-trained models, even standard shipping that out to strategic allies.
The whole package deal.
Pretty much. But domestically, there's also this interesting internal policy. Mandating federal procurement rules favor AI systems they call ideologically neutral. It explicitly rejects systems labeled in the document as woke or biased. Now, those are terms the administration uses for AI perceived to have certain political or social viewpoints baked in.
Okay, that sounds like it could be contentious.
It definitely could be. And finally, to create a more unified environment within the U.S., they're setting up a single federal standard for AI regulation. This would basically override all the different state-level rules that have been popping up.
Okay, those are some very specific, very decisive moves. But stepping back, what's the grand strategy here? What's the bigger picture for the U.S. in pushing this kind of plan? Why now? Why so aggressive?
Well, if you connect the dots, the strategic goals become pretty clear. First off, it's about technological supremacy, no question. By deregulating, by trying to re-energize their domestic AI scene, the U.S. is explicitly aiming to stay ahead of competitors. China, Europe, both in research and actually selling AI products, they want to be number one.
Right, maintaining that edge.
Second, there's a really strong push for supply chain sovereignty, this whole fast tracking of chip plants and data centers. It's about reducing reliance on foreign suppliers, bringing those critical AI resources, the advanced chips, the data infrastructure back home. Makes the U.S. less vulnerable to, global disruptions. Maybe a lesson learned from recent years.
That makes a lot of sense. We've all seen how fragile supply chains can be, so it's resilience, not just dominance.
Absolutely. Then there's the export diplomacy angle. AI is being used quite explicitly as a new tool of influence. By offering these complete AI tech stacks to friendly nations, the U.S. hopes to, well, kind of lock them into the American ecosystem.
Building alliances through technology.
Exactly. It fosters deeper tech and economic ties. It's a powerful form of soft power and strategic alignment. And lastly, for the companies actually doing AI in the U.S., this push for market coherence through one federal regulation is key. It just creates a more predictable business environment, which, helps attract investment and encourages companies to innovate.
That lays out a really powerful blueprint, no ambiguity about U.S. intentions there. Okay, let's pivot then. Let's talk about India. India's really come onto the scene as a very promising AI power lately. You've got a vibrant startup ecosystem, incredible technical talent, and major government pushes like the India AI mission, the AI Safety Institute. So with this big U.S. plan hitting the stage, how does it intersect with India's own goals? Is it mostly opportunity, mostly challenge? Feels like a bit of both?
You're spot on. It's definitely a two-sided coin. Very dynamic, lots of facets to consider. This U.S. action plan is going to ripple through India's AI ecosystem in several major ways, offering, yes, significant upsides, but also, importantly, some real complexities. India's big opportunity here isn't just about using U.S. tech. It's maybe about forging its own distinct path. Values-driven, becoming a key voice for ethical, inclusive AI globally. Maybe a sort of third way between the U.S. and China. Okay, so one of the first impacts, probably quite immediate, is on Indian startups. We're talking about technology spillovers. The U.S. plan focuses on exporting these full-stack AI packages, right? Hardware models, tools, standards. That could be a massive boon for Indian companies.
Like getting a ready-made toolkit.
Yeah, pretty much. Think about it. Instead of Indian startups needing millions to train giant models from scratch, they could potentially fine-tune U.S. models for Indian languages, Indian contexts, or they could use pre-built U.S. tools, APIs, integrate with global cloud platforms that are optimized under this new U.S. policy. That could seriously speed up getting applications to market in crucial areas like education, healthcare, logistics, farming, all across India.
Okay, that sounds like a huge potential accelerator.
It is. But there's a caveat, of course. The strategic risk of becoming too dependent, especially if these systems aren't open source or if they don't fully align with India's own values and needs.
Right, so it's a head start, but you need to be careful about who built the starting blocks and what comes attached.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this links directly to the next point, how the plan might give a short-term lift to India's AI mission and national AI stack. India's already working hard on building its own sovereign AI capabilities, things like compute clusters, models for its many languages.
The India AI initiative, yeah.
Right. The U.S. plan could actually help speed that up, maybe by providing essential hardware, those crucial AI chips for India's national compute grid, or offering pre-trained language models that Indian developers can then adapt for all the regional languages, fostering partnerships on aligning models, on shared safety protocols. This kind of collaboration could really boost India's ability to deploy AI effectively across its incredibly diverse population. Now, here's a more nuanced but really important area: how this U.S. plan might influence India's AI safety and ethics framework.
Ah, okay. Because the approaches seem different.
Very different, potentially. The U.S. is pushing deregulation, this idea of ideological neutrality. India, meanwhile, has consistently emphasized a more consultative, ethics-first approach. You see that with their AI Safety Institute.
Right.
So this divergence is both a challenge and, interestingly, an opportunity. U.S. systems, optimized purely for speed and performance, might not automatically account for things like fairness, transparency, linguistic inclusion issues that are absolutely central to India's AI agenda, given its diversity. This is where India could actually step up and show leadership, maybe by proposing ethical frameworks that are interoperable, that bridge the gap between the West's performance-first and India's inclusion-first philosophy. But the challenge is doing that without watering down its own principles just to quickly adopt the latest tech.
That's fascinating. So India could position itself as a leader in responsible AI, offering a different model than the US speed-focused one. But what about the basics, like just getting the computing power?
Good question. That brings us to access to infrastructure and cloud compute. Historically, a major bottleneck for Indian AI startups has been getting affordable, scalable compute power. Now, if the U.S. loosens its own environmental and permitting rules, that might actually increase the global supply of AI-optimized resources. Those NVIDIA H100 chips, cloud TPUs.
Making them cheaper or more available globally?
Potentially, yes. Which could mean lower cloud costs for Indian startups, easier access to U.S.-backed cloud partners, maybe more technical collaboration.
Okay, that would be a direct benefit.
It would. But again, the balancing act. India absolutely needs to keep building its own compute networks under the India AI initiative. You don't want to swap one bottleneck for a long-term dependency. Avoid future vulnerabilities. Yeah. And then there's the big geopolitical picture. Geopolitical collaboration. Counterbalancing China. With China rising as a major AI power, the U.S. and India find themselves, strategically, quite aligned. Both want an open, democratic AI ecosystem as opposed to a more state-controlled model.
For shared interest there.
Definitely. And the U.S. action plan explicitly uses AI exports and tech diplomacy as strategic tools. India, being a key democratic ally, stands to gain quite a bit from this. We could see more joint work on standards, collaboration on securing supply chains for chips, more engagement in forums like the Quad's AI working groups. Remember, India and France co-chaired the AI Action Summit earlier this year, 2025. That shows India's growing influence in global AI governance. Closer ties with the U.S. could amplify that voice.
That makes sense, aligning on the bigger strategic map. But you mentioned friction points earlier. Despite the potential collaboration, where could things get tricky?
Right. That's where we hit the regulatory challenges and friction points. Because despite the shared interests, the approaches are different in key areas. Take regulation itself. U.S. moving towards deregulation, industry-led, federal rules, trumping state rules.
Yeah.
India. More ethics first, inclusive, consultative. That's a clash.
Okay.
Then there's the ideology and AI aspect. The U.S. plan works to ban systems deemed woke or biased. India generally encourages AI models that are inclusive, socially sensitive, tailored to its diverse society. Another potential clash.
Yeah, I can see that.
Environmental reviews, loosened in the U.S. for speed. But India likely remains more cautious due to its own environmental concerns. And data use. The U.S. is relaxing rules on using data for training. India is generally more cautious, especially with personal and cultural data.
So startups could get caught in the middle.
They absolutely could. Trying to follow Indian ethics laws while maybe using tools built under looser U.S. rules. It really highlights why India needs to maintain its own policy independence, even while collaborating. And finally, maybe the biggest long-term risk for India. Digital sovereignty and long-term dependence. If India's AI ecosystem startups, institutions becomes too reliant on U.S. infrastructure, U.S. foundational models, U.S. platforms, well, it risks losing control.
Control over what exactly?
Control over critical things,
Right.
like data privacy norms, data storage locations, the ability to fine-tune or retrain models independently, and potentially facing issues with long-term pricing, access restrictions, or even export controls down the line. Plus, over-reliance could just stifle the development of genuinely homegrown solutions. Solutions uniquely suited to India's specific challenges and societal context.
All right, hindering indigenous innovation.
Exactly. So while the U.S. plan offers a definite short-term boost, India really has to double down on building its own resilient AI ecosystem to avoid those deeper, long-term risks.
Okay, that paints a wonderfully complex, nuanced picture. So the U.S. AI Action Plan, clearly a bold move, very industry-friendly, geared towards rapid innovation and projecting influence. For India, it absolutely opens doors. Technology access, partnerships, potentially a stronger voice in setting global AI standards. But as you've laid out so clearly, India's path isn't just about passively accepting this. It's more like a dance, isn't it? A negotiation.
That's a great way to put it, a dance and negotiation. For Indian stakeholders, the takeaways seem clear. Startups, yes, embrace the tech transfer, but hedge your bets. Use open source, build tools you can adapt locally. Policymakers, they have the critical job of building bridges for interoperability, but fiercely guarding India's own regulatory standards and values. Investors, maybe look at funding those crucial infrastructure startups in India, the ones that can reduce reliance on U.S. cloud and chips over time. And researchers, they have a massive role in shaping those ethical frameworks, those linguistic models that truly reflect India's unique society.
So it's really a call for proactive co-creation, maybe, rather than just adoption.
India can and probably should partner with the US to build the AI future, but crucially on its own terms. As both countries move forward, perhaps the real measure of success won't just be who wins some AI race, but how thoughtfully they define the finish line itself. Shaping a future where this powerful technology actually serves humanity in fair, equitable ways. We'll be back on Monday with our next episode.